Marking 4 decades of investment in Jersey City, the Newport Associates Development Company, a partnership of the LaFranc and Simon families, have announced a major philanthropic initiative to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Newport, a vibrant live, work, play community on the New Jersey waterfront. LaFranc and Simon will donate $1 million in charitable contributions to 40 Jersey City-based nonprofits, underscoring their long-standing and continued commitment to the community. And joining us today is Jamie LaFranc, the Vice Chairman of LaFranc. Great to have you on the show, Jamie.
Thank you, Doug, and nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you as well. Boy, this is big news. What a commitment you have made to Jersey City, not only now, but through the years. Tell us about this $1 million commitment to support 40 Jersey City nonprofits.
Yeah, so one of the things, I mean, it's obviously we've been working here so long that we're like kind of part of the old furniture of Jersey City. We're sort of, part of the permanent tapestry of life here. And one of the things that we've noticed in all that time is that the philanthropic activity is very low. And I think that's because philanthropy is largely driven by the most successful, wealthiest, most fortunate residents in a place, and that's why just inches away in New York, you have a history, a tradition of gigantic contributions, naming big institutions, creating institutions, whether it's back to Andrew Carnegie and J.P. Morgan, or all the amazing recent things, Mike Bloomberg, and you name it, right? And Jersey City hasn't had this great tradition of this. The only one that I think comes to mind in my experience is when Ziggy Wilzig, on his passing, named the hospital, and then the hospital was ultimately consumed by Barnabas. Um, and I feel like that's something that needs to change. That there are great institutions and small charities, people doing amazing work locally that don't get attention, recognition, or funding. Um, and we're trying very hard to bring them out of the woodwork by announcing, this big commitment, to bring them to the fore, so we can do something great to support them, and then also get in simultaneous to all the PR that we're going to do over our 40th anniversary, to get some attention on them. So maybe someday it's not just us, or it's not just the most local people helping them out.
You mentioned Jersey City has not got the attention in some areas that it needs to, because this is such a major part of the Garden State. Jersey City and the nonprofits there deserve to have their due as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we could get the census right, we would find out that it's now by far the largest city in the state. And New Jersey always suffers by being betwixt two big media markets, right? New York steals all the air from the room on one end, and then Philadelphia on the other. So the state of New Jersey is, in some ways, it's like an information void. Um, I mean, even speaking to the project in general, for 40 years, we wondered why, and now we've built so many buildings over here, where the skyline itself is, irreversibly and substantially changed. You actually get a pretty decent view from Manhattan of New Jersey now in terms of what kind of buildings you see. Um, but people still, I think, would say, what is that? Like, they don't even know what that thing is across the river. And we would, you know, bang on a drum and say, do you know this is accessible by subway? Like, it's one subway stop. What do you mean? I don't see it on the MTA map. Oh, well, there's this other thing called Path. It's this kind of the same concept. You swipe the card, or you tap the card, and you just hop on the train. And the train comes every few minutes and just come over. It's a short ride, but it kind of doesn't help in terms of getting attention. And it's really only recently, uh, and I think mostly driven by the fact that journalists have moved here. Maybe they were priced out of Manhattan and priced out of Brooklyn, and as young journalists have kind of moved over here, whether willfully or not, it's much easier for them to cast some attention on the place that they live because why not make it easy and do a little story on your neighborhood. And that's finally, I think, gotten a little bit of light on Jersey City from the New York media market. But certainly the city itself lacks the kind of cultural institutions that you would find elsewhere in the country for a city of over 300,000. The city of over 300,000 in many states would have its own sports teams, right? It would have its own uh, museum, its own concert hall, its own sorry, somebody texting me, its own uh, substantial nonprofits, right? And while Jersey City has had a little bit of grounding in that, the Lowe's Theater, like I mentioned, there's one meaningful kind of tier one trauma hospital. Um, uh, there was an attempt, maybe politically complicated attempt at a museum of some kind recently that didn't kind of go anywhere. There's not what you would expect to see in a city of this size. Um, you, some of that, I think, to the extent that cultural institutions, charitable organizations get funding from the government or from the state. It's been hard since I think the days of Mayor Haig, so predating me, to really muster the attention of Trenton on on Jersey City. So that's why, Mayor Haig's big project, which was the original Jersey City Hospital, which was this massive complex, much later converted into rental apartments. Nothing like that has happened from the state or from the federal government to Jersey City, not certainly not in my life. And then the other is, as I mentioned, until there's super successful, super well off and fortunate local residents, in that kind of next, let's call it the 1% of the 1%. It's very hard to get locals to support stuff. So again, why we want to work on.
You mentioned the long-standing commitment that LaFranc has had to buildings in Jersey City. Can you take us back to your early recollections of the family and when it talked about, hey, we want to make Jersey City special?
Yeah, I mean, with pleasure. Of course, that's the most fun question you can ask me because I can't claim to have started working when I was 12, but I was here every weekend with my dad, my grandfather in those days, riding around the giant site, the 600 acres that we have. Um, and boy, what was it? I mean, the main street here, which is called Washington Boulevard, didn't exist until we built it. So there was nothing. There was just giant abandoned rail yards, environmental calamities, a subway station, a PATH station that was barely even running anymore. It was so abandoned. It was really just a stairway into the ground, and cars would just park in the dirt around it as a form of commuter parking. And there were at one point, I think we had only seven users per day of that PATH station. Um, so it required a massive undertaking of hundreds of millions of dollars of investment. I mean, just to get the infrastructure in, because not like a site in New York where it comes with the water and the sewer and the electrical and the roads. Every single part of it had to be created from scratch. And yeah, it's been quite a long haul. My late grandfather predicted that the whole project would be done in 20 years. God bless him. Uh, it's taken 40, and I would say we're about 60%. So, I'm fortunate to have four kids. My brother's got one, and at some point this will be theirs to work on and complete. And that'll be, you know, Could I predict another 20 years? So it'll be 60 years start to finish. If that happens, great. But of course, 60 years start to finish means you're starting to go back to things that you did, 60 years ago and saying, that wasn't right. Let's tear that down, redo it. Everything has a useful life, including buildings. I would say that's kind of the perspective that we have on it. It's like a forever. Conceptually forever. It's fun now actually to sometimes meet city council members who are not quite 40 years old yet, so they weren't alive when we started, and so they feel like this is all just sort of been here. And I guess this happens to all of us, right, Doug? Where we start young, and then we're middle, and then we're kind of middle plus, right? And then we say some of the funny things that our parents and grandparents said, when looking back, like don't you know what this was like in 1985? How would I know that? I was 20 years before I was born, right? So that's sort of how it feels now, which is in a lot of ways it's a good feeling. No one can accuse you of being a newcomer anymore or a carpetbagger. We're really sort of permanently and forever wonderfully attached to and committed to this really cool project. And where are we at now? There's 25,000 people live in buildings that we built, give or take. 20,000 people work every day, give or take, in office buildings that we built. Thousands upon thousands of shoppers come here, or visitors come here for within Newport, the cultural institutions and shopping opportunities that we have. And there's some number of commuter parkers too, I guess, if we wanted to add it all together. And people that use the recreation that we built with private funds, parks and waterfront walkway and so on, and all that stuff. And it gives us all tremendous amount of pride. I mean, like, people here seem happy. Uh, as an owner of apartments, you can't measure yourself by positive comments, right? Because no normal resident actually says, I love my landlord. That's a
That's true.
for me. Like, I've never heard that. So there's this funny statistic when it comes to apartment ratings, right? Which is the the average rating is like 2.7 out of 5. Is that interesting? Because people only complain, right?
Yeah, right,
No
right.
one, no one, no one goes online to tell you that you're doing a great job, and that's fine. We accept that. That's not the source of discomfort, but the way you measure the happiness of your population is whether they renew, and the rates of renewal tend to be quite good. Certainly better than the national average, and even a little bit better than the local average. So Jersey City, Newport in general is, I think, and I hope, making people happy. It's generating plenty of tax revenue for the city, and all around, it took 17 years, give or take, to turn a profit. So people don't know that. It was 17 years before we turned it positive, and then for the last little while, it's been quite a bit better, and that's the kind of thing that enables us to make big charitable commitments. And I hope those commitments last, that we can do it again and again.
Wow, that has to be so fulfilling knowing that you talk about your children and how they're going to pick up the mantle and keep this going for LeFrak. What are the biggest hurdles now when it comes to building and constructing new facilities in Jersey City than maybe 10, 20 years ago?
Uh, well, on the one hand, and it's this is very fulfilling to see. We're not all alone anymore. There are many other great local and regional builders here building housing. So it's kind of like, well, we've proven our point. We begged you to come look at it for 20 years, and now you're all here. The challenge of that is now the local agencies responsible for that are quite well subscribed. There's a lot of demand for the services of the building department here now, for planning hearings. And different from New York, when you have an as of right project, meaning it falls within the zoning constraints. In New York, you just file some paperwork and you start building. And here, everyone is required to go for a hearing, and that can be quite time consuming. And even though it's going to be approved, if they can't hear you for 6 or 9 months, that's the kind of thing that's caused by just a large number of people building in the same time in the same place. Um, I think beyond that, uh, uh, there's political risk that's different than it was in the 1980s. And again, that relates to just the popularity of it. When we were the only people here, um, everybody, or I shouldn't say everybody, because there's always someone who's not happy, but the city was quite thrilled with any kind of new construction. No one, it'd been sort of 30 years between the time that the city's industry failed in the late 1950s until the 1980s when we were here ready to do something. So they had really become quite desirous of new construction. And now there's so much new construction, there may be the sense that they don't need as much as they've had. And of course that's a challenge. But I think by and large, certainly compared to New York, it's still a wonderful place to do business that we're happy with, and we love all of our relationships here and all the people that we work with every day. And at this point, 40 years later, like we know everyone by name, by first name. So, and there's this, I think, a sense of confidence that what we say we're gonna do, we're gonna do.
Just have two more questions for you.
Yeah.
This may be an unfair question because it's almost like saying, "Who's your favorite child?" But what,
Uh,
but what are you most proud of when it comes to Newport? What project?
oh man, I'll give you the same answer my grandfather gave, which is the next one. Is always the next one. Uh, uh, you know, building is very exciting. It's very difficult. It's a ton of work, and one of the things that just differentiates us as a business still is that we perform our own construction. I have this amazing staff of people here, really just incredible, motivated, educated, hardworking, diligent, awesome construction executives and managers and so on who undertake these things with me and make me look good. And uh, we really just do that. That is where we add value in the chain. And our peers, for the most part, hate that. They run away from it. They like to hire a general contractor and get great financing and get great permits and approvals and zoning permissions and they look at the business just differently than we do. So there's this fear and excitement with the start of every new construction project because they're laden with tremendous risk. All kinds of horrible things can happen. So it's always the next one that's the most exciting. It's always the completion of it that provides the great dopamine and relief feeling when it's over, and then you love it. And when it's done, you just keep visiting it and visiting it and visiting it for a little while, and then it goes into the pile, right? As soon as the next one starts. So yeah, the one that I'm most excited about is the one I'm working on right now, which is like 50-story, 540 unit apartment house called 20 Long Slip, and it's our northernmost project. It's going to be a super nice apartment house, and it's right up against the Hoboken Pass Station because our property actually abuts the border of Hoboken, and that's going to be just so cool. It's like we finally finished, at least on the north-south axis, our whole waterfront, and yeah, I'm really really excited. And that should be done in like 18 months. Um,
We definitely can hear your passion when it comes to your work.
yeah, yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Now, the nonprofits, they have to fill out applications to qualify, submitted online at
Um,
newportnj.com,
I'm
correct?
so glad you asked. Let me echo that. Newportnj.com. The point of this conversation was not for me to pat self on back for construction. It was to make sure that the word gets out there that there's this pot of money that's available for giving away. It's definitely at least $1 million. We really want to get at least 40 charities, in the mix here. NewportNJ.com has a short and easy form to fill out. It's less paperwork than is required to get a passport or to get your driver's license. How about that? Just if you're a charity that's based in or does a lot of your work in Jersey City, please get online, newportnj.com. Just fill out the form so we can get started reviewing you and the work that you do. And the smallest gift that we will give is $10,000. So it's got to be worth somebody's time.
Also, the nonprofits may be eligible for one of the several cornerstone awards that are beginning at $100,000, depending on
Yes.
the record of
Yeah,
success, right?
definitely. At least 100,000. There could be awards that are even bigger than that. We're just looking to identify people doing great work locally and, help them out and kind of keep them going in their direction.
So once again, this is a major initiative that is going on thanks to LaFrac, and Jamie LaFrac has been our guest here today on the WBGO Journal. It's marking 4 decades of investment in Jersey City. Newport Associates Development Company, partnership of LaFrac and Simon families, have announced this major philanthropic initiative to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Newport. And continued success to you, Jamie, and Jersey City continues to grow.
Thank you, Doug, and great talking to you.